Dun, dun, dun. Oh yeah, we're back on Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth. Jason Bristol, Jeremy's here. You know, Jeremy, before we got talking, I said, what did you think of the Carlos Beltran interview? And I got the impression you weren't very impressed. Why?
Jason, that interview wasn't worth the time it took to film it, okay? It's not something that you spend any energy on. Beltran ought to be embarrassed and ashamed of himself. He's all just trying to throw out and protect himself and reestablish himself in the game. And I understand that, but the reality is, Carlos, you cheated, dude, with the rest of the team, except for the guys who openly have been said they didn't cheat. The commissioner's report said that the front office knew and didn't do anything about it, right? Jeff Luhnow himself said, I scrolled past an email. Like, what are you doing? You're telling us old news. And by the way, lost in all of that while you're working for the Yankees was that when you got to Houston, you said, wow, you guys are really behind in this technology stuff that you're doing with the science, because we were doing it in New York in 2014 and 15. Like you just told on your current employer, dude. Like the reality is it wasn't illegal at the time until it became illegal. So it's the old argument of, hey, I probably shouldn't jaywalk. Is that legal? Oh yeah, no, it's not legal. Okay, well, it's the same thing. And you turn around and decide to throw your teammates under the bus 5 years later to save yourself, move on. Pass. You know what? While you're at it, think about the rest of the relationships you're burning in the league, because now you're limiting yourself to the New York Yankees. How about that? You're just now going to be a Yankee.
I didn't look at it like that, but some other people here thought that they were throwing the Astros under the bus, the players, his teammates, and I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't looking at it that way. I just took it as it was basically reaffirming everything that was in the report, saying, listen, if we had gotten some direction from the front office to shut this down, we would have. But because, although Jeff Luhnow, I think, denies that he knew about it at all, that memo never got forwarded, and thus they never were told to stop it. So that's what I took. It was more of an affirmation of what we got in the report from MLB.
Yeah, but, we got to take this back a little bit. AJ Hinch did his time. We do remember that Carlos Beltran and AJ Hinch are teammates in Kansas City, right? We do remember that. So everybody who's played with Beltran understands, and I'm going to tell you, I have knowledge of that, that he was always trying to find a way to find an edge. Nothing wrong with trying to find an edge. What there is a problem with is breaking the rules of the game. There is a problem with doing electronic sign stealing. In an effort to save himself, he threw everybody else under the bus, drove it over him once, backed it up, went sideways, put them in glad bags and tossed them somewhere in a dumpster. That's what he was deciding to do. And it's weak and it's tired and it needs to move on. Listen, if you had a line that started at KHOU Studios and just ran that as far as it could go, right? For how many people would jump up and down with an opportunity to talk about how bad Jeff Luhnow and company were for the game, I'd be first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I'd be hologramming myself the entire way. Just have other opportunities to do it. Okay. But the reality is Beltran knew what he was doing. He's not a dumb guy. He understands what was going on. He's just trying to save himself, and it's a weak act to do it.
I also thought it was interesting that he is upset that he was named in the report, and his whole reasoning for that is that they said they were going to grant me immunity. Well, Carlos, the definition of immunity is that obviously you will be spared any penalties for the most part. But that doesn't mean they can't name you in the report. That's not what immunity means.
Bad look, bad actor. I'm really disappointed, not surprised necessarily, but I'm disappointed in how he did it. And if I was anybody around the league, I'm watching him break even further protocol, trying to protect himself, because now he's in another chance. And the same conversation. I mean, it comes up because Cashman's trying to protect his job after they haven't won a World Series in 22 years. Is that right? The New York Yankees. So in 22 years, the year you're hanging on to is 2017. You are, and I know we've talked about hitting strikes hard. You are the New York Yankees. Act accordingly, right? When it comes to that, the Yankees aren't the Yankees anymore. Aaron Boone a year ago said, I think the rest of the league's catching up to us. Bro, you're 0 for 22. Like, what do you mean? There's 22 different world champions since you were a world champion the last time. Let's not talk. You try to catch up to them. How about that? How about you make some adjustments to catch up to them? Because whatever you're doing, as deep as you're going into these base stealing guys that are there that never stole a base professionally, or some of the throw strikes hard or hit strikes hard or throw balls sideways, whatever you're doing with the stuff that you're talking about in your player development, it's not working. And it's time to go do something else to try to win a World Series instead of bitching and complaining. Yet, let me say that again. Let me say, I really want to be clear. I misspoke. I'm sorry. It's time to try something else instead of bitching and complaining about the 2017 Houston Astros when you ain't won a World Series in 22 years. Let it go. Be better, and go try to win some games and take the trophy home instead of letting Reggie Jackson come be a special assistant to the Houston Astros president. How is that guy, the Yankee, Mr. October, the Yankee? He is the Yankee. How is that the Yankee in Houston? I don't know. Maybe because they're 0 for 22.
I don't think Goose Gossage is around either anymore. I don't think he's a fan either of what's going on over there.
They're all gone. And it's sad because the Yankees will always be the Yankees. But again, you're 0 for 22.
By the way, definition of immunity: protection or exemption from something, especially an obligation or penalty.
Definition of insanity: the New York Yankees blaming being 0 for 22 on the 2017 Astros.
And I also think that the LA Dodgers might have something to say about that, because I don't know if the Yankees could have gotten by that Dodgers team either.
I'm going to go ahead and say no. I mean, I think the Dodgers have been a pretty good club for a long time. Look, and look, the Dodgers, I have connections with both teams, right? I mean, it's hard at this point to I have connections with all these places, but I say the truth and I speak my mind. And the Dodgers have had some real difficulty winning World Series as well, because they micromanage the playoffs and they play too many probabilities instead of just going out and playing baseball. You can do that over 162 games. It's much tougher doing the postseason where every pitch matters. So, they have some areas of opportunity to improve there, but they got one, right? And they have consistently the best farm system in baseball, or one of, so I don't have an issue with what they do in LA, but we'd like to see them finish it differently, sure, but they're not 0 for 22. They've been in the big circle with the flowers and the bouquets and the roses, and they've done all that, with in Dallas. They actually, so the Yankees got to move on, man. It's tired. Worry about your own house and win something one time.
Chris Sale now may be a hero here in Houston after his interview on WEEI on Monday morning, saying, here's the thing, if the Astros were the only team doing it, then yeah, give that title back, take it back. But I know for a fact they weren't. All these people pointing fingers, well, hey, take a check in the mirror real quick. Make sure you and your team weren't doing something. And that whole look in the mirror thing, that's the problem I had with AJ Hinch during the 2019 run, because basically AJ Hinch is saying, all you people accusing us of this and that, if you've got a problem with my team, put your name on it. Well, guess what? You asked for it, you got it, and that was Mike Fiers.
I remember sitting with you when he said that. We're in New York. And I remember listening to that, and I looked at you and you looked at me, and I was like, this is not going to go well. This is not going to go well. And sure enough, a couple months later, we have one of the best photos of all screen grabs of all time when it goes live. They got busted and suspended. And I got the grab, and you're looking like, and I'm like, it was like, what are we doing? I don't know. It's hard to throw that stuff out there and act like you're not living in a glass house when you do it. It's tough. The league was doing it across the board. No one ever said that. My only issue with the Astros was after it came out not to do it. They did it anyway. It's not what you did up to that point. The minute it becomes illegal, you stop doing it. That's it. Whatever you did to that point doesn't matter. So, when it comes to Luno and those guys in the front office, I believe that while we've talked about players coming up with it, I think those guys encouraged it. And I think Beltran's right about that, because, look, they needed to win in 2017. If they don't win in 2017, Luno may not have got 18, 19, and 20. He needed to win. And so I think James Cook's been here, 2 years now? It's his third year? 20, 21, and 22. Luno, the Astros, it was time to win. That core was old. I mean, you haven't seen them keep any free agents, right? They're all leaving, like we talked about before. Verlander came back, but he wasn't an original Astro. He came from somewhere else anyway. So a lot of that had to do with that front office and how they treated him. And so that was going to happen. But
wait, you don't think that Jeff Luhnow would have been back if they had lost the 2017 World Series? Come on, Jeremy.
I think the contract and the return was getting tough. I think it was time for his model to show some results. The system has not been good for a while. They are finally, this is how what a good scouting and player development department can do. They are finally not living off Bobby Heck and his staff's drafts. They're finally done. Okay. All those guys have finally cycled through. Bobby Heck's first pick was Jason Castro in 2008, right? He's still playing 14 years later. He's still playing, but everybody else, they've all cycled through. You've got McCullers. You've got, he was a cross checker for Brantley in Milwaukee. Who else is on this team that was still there that Bobby Heck drafted now? Right? There's only a couple of guys. They've all come through, and they've all come from none of these guys are, quote, aircraft carriers. They've still been surviving on the Springers, even though he's not here anymore. And the Correas, he's not here anymore. Altuve, Bregman, those guys are aircraft carriers. There's not a whole lot. Well, Alvarez, that's a trade, right? So when it comes to what these guys have actually done, you're now seeing what a system that has not been replenished properly. You're seeing that show up in the big leagues. These guys, need some help, and I think that Jim Crane knew that. I think they knew that internally as a system, and they needed to win.
And obviously, the jury is still out on Jeremy Pena, but at this point, for a third-round pick, and from a tools perspective, that appears to be a win.
Jeremy Pena is going to play defense. That's what we know. It's really hard to figure out what he's going to do offensively till year 3. He's not Yordan Alvarez. He'll come out this year, and if he hits 230, 5-6 home runs, and
he'll hit. I bet you he'll hit 240, 245. Well, is that really any different than 230?
No, we're splitting hairs. I mean, whatever, 240, 245, 250. That's a good year for a first-year guy. My question is going to be: is he going to make people forget the defense of Carlos Correa, because Correa was a 6-hitter here, and he was also a good performer in the postseason. But night in, night out, he was a 6-hitter. So I think the energy with Pena is really going to be defensive on the defense side of the ball.
I love these, courtesy of Bet Online AG. Over-unders, we did some the other night on Sports Extra. Over-under, when it comes to established veterans, Bryce Harper, total home runs in 2022 regular season, 36.5. Over or under?
We'll take the under.
I'm going the over.
We'll see. I got the under.
All right, I'm going 37-38. Juan Soto, batting average in the regular season, over under 312.
Over.
Under.
Okay.
I'm going to say right around 308, 309, 310.
You're splitting hairs, Jason. I'm going to say it's 320, but that's okay.
Hey, splitting hairs can make you a lot of money. Shohei Ohtani, batting average in the 2022 regular season, 265. Over or under?
Over.
Over. Home runs, 37.5. Over or under?
Over.
Under. RBI, 97.5. Over, under?
Under.
Under. Here's a good one. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., batting average, 305. Over, under?
Over.
Over. Home runs, 42.5.
Over.
Over. I love Vladimir Guerrero Jr., by the way. How about Carlos Correa, batting average in the regular season, 274. Over, under?
Under.
Under. RBI, 87.5. Over, under?
Under.
God, Javier Baez is on this list? Well, they could have everything. How about Marcus Semien? Marcus Semien, home runs in 2022, over under 29.5.
Over. Texas? Have we seen that ballpark before?
A swing and a deep drive by Castellanos. Total home runs in 2022, 31.5. Over, under?
For who? Castellanos?
Yeah.
Over.
Trevor Story, over under 29.5 homers.
Over.
Do a couple more. Garrett Cole, total wins in the 2022 regular season, 15, over under.
Under.
Really?
Yeah, I don't trust the Yankees. Under.
Wow. Shohei Ohtani, 9.5.
Over.
Ooh, here's a good one. One of your favorites. Kevin Gausman, 11.5.
Over.
Max Scherzer, 12.5.
Over.
And one more. What's a good one? Ooh, here's a good one. Cedric Mullins, total home runs, 27.5.
Baltimore?
Had a real breakthrough season last year.
Yeah, he's a New Balance athlete now. I'm going to go over.
All right. Those were good over-unders.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Cedric Mullins, good player.
I think so.
Good player.
I think so. Hey, when you look at this Astros team, what is the number one question facing this club as we head into 2022?
Always going to be pitching with these guys. I mean, there's just so much injury in their rotation. And honestly, if you look at their position players, they've now had everybody there have some major injuries as well, right? With the exception of McCormick and Siri. Tucker, he's had some bangs, got some nicks. Alvarez has missed some time. Gurriel's missed some time. Altuve's missed some time. Bregman's missed some time. Castro's missed some time. Brantley's missed some time. Like all these guys, at this point in their career have had some significant injuries, and they're all good performers when they're on the field. So keep people healthy and keeping them on the field is going to be is the task that the Astros medical staff has to do. What I would say when you're talking about this rotation is again, without any injury at all, I've got these guys at about 800 to 820 innings. Okay, that's not enough. That's a lot of stress on the bullpen. If I'm gonna I had this number written down, but I'll do it again. 162 times 9 is 1,458 innings, right? So that means 620, 630 innings for a bullpen. You have 10 guys back there right now. That's 60 innings a guy. It's not going to happen. Some guys are going to have more, some guys are going to have less, some guys are going to break down. In Presley's role, for example, he throws 60, that's about it. 60, 65, that's about it. If you've got, some of those other, like, Javier or some of the other guys who are in the back of the bullpen, they're still trying to figure themselves out in the big leagues. And the guy that needs to come out and throw innings is going to be on an innings limit. That's Lance McCullers. So he needs to come out, and it's going to be mid-season before he's back. He needs to come out throwing bullets, and he needs to pitch out of the bullpen. So their pitching is a question mark. Their health is an overall question mark. But for this team, it can be catastrophic if both things go wrong.
In the first month of the season, what do you want to see from a team like the Astros?
Efficiency. I want to see these guys have good at bats. I want to see these guys throw strikes. I want to see these guys have quick turnarounds, guys go into games, bullpen be fresh. I want to see the overall team begin to click in an efficient way. If you start having the first 30, 45, even 50 games drag out, right, or guys air it out too much, or whatever the case is, to not put themselves in a position to be in midseason form while still executing what they're doing, you're running the risk of burning guys out early physically. And if you do that, then stuff's going to break down. So many pitches, so many swings, and so much, so many doubles and extra base hits. There's only so many of that in any one season, for a club. So these guys need to be efficient, need to work through it and get themselves so we can handle the longer days that are going to come.
I think it's time for that time in the podcast when we go back to one of your old scouting reports. What do you think? Yeah, of course. That means yes. When you pause like that, I know that you're just saying, Jason, take it away. I know what you're doing because I know what you're thinking.
Jason, take the wheel again.
So this one is from 2012.
Yeah.
He was the number 11 player on your list. Starter, 3-starter in major league role, smooth, easy delivery, arm action, easy velocity, present strength to his frame with more to come in the future with natural maturity. Durability in body and delivery to believe in maintaining his velocity and stuff. Feel to use a slider for an out pitch, extend the zone to both sides of the plate. Deception in velocity and pitch recognition. Got better with command and secondary as the game went on, performing exceptionally well on a big stage. Has some upside left. We are talking about a 6'2" right-hander out of Mississippi State, Christopher Stratton. Christopher Stratton, Jeremy, never really made it as a starter. However, he's been really good in the pen for the Pittsburgh Pirates. What do you make of that report now, looking back 10 years later?
You know, Chris Stratton had some injury issues with his arm at the time. And so, you know, you're projecting what the ceiling can be. I only really saw him once. And I say that because I saw him against Kevin Gausman, who I think the entire world and the metaverse and the solar system understands that I was way high on Kevin Gausman. And so I saw him match up against him. My takeaway from it was that at the night I saw him and the way that he has played out, that the injuries and the durability probably put him in the bullpen. But, you know, again, if you're looking at Gausman as a frontline starter, that night, you know, Stratton went pitch for pitch with him for a while. Gausman outlasted him, and Gausman had durability, and Gausman had the little bit more of the I'm going to bury you type approach. Stratton was more of a silent assassin, went out and got his job done. He was easy to like. But at the same time, the report, I think, sounds pretty good. It's just the wrong role, right? I mean, at this point, 10 years later, you know, a lot of these guys are back in the bullpen anyway, right? Relievers are not successful starters.
This is what I love about you, man. Like, you used a word that is actually in that report to describe this kid's makeup. It says good mound presence, low burn, methodical, assassin-like. That's what's written in the report. You just mentioned it 10 years later.
I haven't even looked at that, man. That's pretty cool. He was he just went out and did his job. I mean, he wasn't somebody that was rah-rah. Gausman had a little bit of Kevin Brown in him and Roger Clemens, and was kind of talking from the mound and, you know, he was just going at it, you know. And Mississippi State and LSU was a pretty good game. It was a pretty good night in the SEC. You know, Stratton went out, did his work, cut through the LSU hitters, which at the time, that was 2012. So I want to say Bregman was on that club, right? No, 13. He was a first pick in 15. So he was there in 2013. You know, but Austin Nola was there. You know, Mikey Matuk he was gone. It was a good club. Yeah, LSU's always been a pretty good team. But, you know, Stratton went out, did his job, cut right through him. You know, went to work, didn't let the crowd bother him, didn't let the players bother him, and just handled his business. It was actually pretty fun to watch. Chris
Stratton won 10 games for the Giants a few years ago. He was 10-10 with an ERA over 5. But again, he's really done a nice job out of the bullpen for the Pirates. 2019, 3.66 ERA, 2020, an ERA under 4. And then last year, he had an ERA of 3.63 and 7 wins against 1 loss with 8 saves. So, I mean, those kind of numbers will get you paid in Major League Baseball these days. No,
for sure. He's a good arm. He's a good bullpen asset. He's somebody that's going to pitch for a little while longer because he knows what he's doing. The moment's not going to be too big for him. But at the time, that was what we saw. That was what I saw. That's what I thought. And it's interesting to hear that 10 years later, I was able to recall that. I had no idea I used that word. It's pretty good.
How about the body comparison? Do you remember that?
No idea.
Chris Benson.
Benny was bigger than that, but yeah, I mean, same frame. Yeah.
By the way, that 2012 LSU team, Gausman, Mason Katz, Rafe Rhymes, Jacoby Jones, Austin Nola.
Okay.
Yeah, so you were right on it.
It's a good college team. Jacoby Jones, probably the highest prospect. He was sometimes tough to watch play. He got to the big leagues, though, I think, with Detroit.
He did. I think it was their first round pick, wasn't he?
Somebody's second rounder, I want to say.
So he was the Pirates' 3rd round pick in 2013. So my bad. He was a 3rd round pick, so not a 1st round pick.
Is he still playing?
He was with the Tigers last year, elected free agency, signed with the Royals. I don't know if he made their opening day roster, though.
They got somebody there by the name of Bobby Witt Jr., who's going to be all right.
I'm bullish on him.
Yeah.
I'm bullish on him.
He's going to be okay.
All righty. Well, that's going to do it for another Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth. Covered a lot of ground. Of course, if you have comments, questions, concerns, you want something answered, let us know in the comments section below. And until then, we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.